Hello and welcome to the complete tutorial for FuelTrack Pro, our comprehensive diesel fuel management and monitoring system. My name is Syed Umair Ul Hassan, and I'll be walking you through every feature of this application today. FuelTrack Pro is designed to help you track fuel consumption across your entire fleet of vehicles, generators, and equipment. Whether you're managing a construction site, a logistics operation, or any business that relies on diesel fuel, this system will give you complete visibility and control over your fuel operations. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover everything from logging in for the first time, all the way through to generating detailed reports and managing users. I'll show you every screen, every button, and every feature so that by the end of this video, you'll be completely comfortable using FuelTrack Pro. Let's get started. I'm going to begin at the login screen. This is the first thing you'll see when you open FuelTrack Pro in your browser. At the top of the screen, you can see our FuelTrack Pro logo with the fuel icon. And below that is our tagline: Fuel Consumption Monitoring and Reporting. This tells you exactly what this application is all about. Now, let me show you the login form. Here I have two fields that I need to fill in. The first field is for my email address. This is the email that was registered when my account was created. The second field is for my password. And as you can see, when I type my password, it shows as dots for security. Once I've entered my credentials, I simply click the Sign In button, and the system will verify my login. If my credentials are correct and I have an authorized role in the system, I'll be taken to the dashboard. If there's any issue, I'll see an error message explaining what went wrong. Below the login form, you'll notice a button that says Download Application. This is very important for our drivers who work in the field. When I click this button, it downloads our Android mobile app. The mobile app is what drivers use to record fuel transactions in the field. They can scan QR codes, take photos of meters. After logging in successfully, I'm taken to the dashboard. This is the homepage of FuelTrack Pro, and it gives me a complete overview of my fuel operations at a glance. At the top of the page, you can see the title, Dashboard, with a subtitle that says, Overview of Fuel Consumption and Operations. This tells me exactly what this page is for. Now let me draw your attention to these four colored cards at the top. These are my key metrics, and they update in real time based on my data. The first card, shown in blue with the truck icon, displays total assets. This tells me how many vehicles and pieces of equipment are registered in the system. Right now, I can see I have X assets. The second card, shown in green with a map pin icon, shows active sites. This is the count of all my work sites that are currently active. I can see I have X active sites. The third card, shown in orange with a fuel icon, displays today's events. This tells me how many fuel transactions have been recorded today. This is very useful for monitoring daily activity. The fourth card, shown in purple with a droplets icon, shows fuel issued today. This is the total number of gallons that have been dispensed today across all my operations. This gives me a quick snapshot of today's fuel consumption. Below the metrics cards, on the left side, I have a line chart titled Daily Fuel Consumption. This chart shows me the fuel consumption over the last 7 days. The horizontal axis shows the days of the week, and the vertical axis shows the quantity in gallons. I can see the trend line going up and down, which helps me identify patterns. For example, If I notice consumption is always higher on certain days, I can investigate why. This chart uses an area fill below the line, which makes it easy to visualize the total consumption over time. On the right side, I have a horizontal bar chart showing site consumption. This chart breaks down fuel consumption by site over the last 30 days. Each bar represents a different site, and the length of the bar shows how much fuel that site has consumed. This is extremely useful for comparing fuel usage across different locations. If one site is using significantly more fuel than others, I can investigate whether that's expected or if there might be an issue. Before I move on, let me show you the navigation sidebar on the left side of the screen. This sidebar appears on every page and lets me navigate to any section of the application. At the top, I can see the Fuel Track Pro logo. Below that, I have links to dashboard, sites, assets, generators, tankers, LPOs, fuel submissions, tanker refills, generator fuel, reports, cost tracking, users, activity logs, and settings. The links I see depend on my user role. For example, if I'm logged in as a driver, I would only see a limited set of links. As an admin, I can see almost everything. At the bottom of the sidebar, there's a Sign Out button that I can click to log out of the system. Now let me show you each of these sections in detail. I'm going to click on Sites in the sidebar to open the Sites Management page. In Fuel Track Pro, a site represents a physical work location where fuel operations take place. This could be a construction site, a warehouse, a project location, or any place where your vehicles and equipment operate and need to be refueled. At the top of this page, I can see the title, sites, and a blue button that says, Add Site. I'll show you how to add a new site in a moment. Below that, I have a table showing all my registered sites. Let me explain each column. The Name column shows the full name of each site, like Main Construction Site or Warehouse A. The Code column shows a unique identifier code for each site. This code is typically short, like SITE001 or WHA. This code is used for quick reference and in reports. The Address column shows the physical address of the site, if one has been entered. The Geofence column shows whether a geofence has been configured for this site. If I see a badge that says Configured, it means a geofence boundary has been set up. I'll explain geofencing in detail shortly. The Status column shows whether the site is active or inactive. Active sites are shown with a green badge, and inactive sites are shown in gray. The Actions column has buttons to edit or delete each site. Let me show you how to add a new site. I'll click the Add Site button at the top of the page. A dialog box opens with a form I need to fill out. This form has two tabs, Basic Information and Geofence. On the Basic Information tab, I need to enter the site name. This is required. For example, I'll type Downtown Project Site. Next, I need to enter a site code. This is also required. I'll type DT001. Remember, this should be unique and easy to remember. Below that, I have an optional address field where I can enter the full physical address. I'll type 123 Main Street, Downtown District. Finally, there's a status toggle switch. By default, new sites are set to active, but I can toggle this off if I want to create an inactive site. Now let me click on the Geofence tab. This is one of the most powerful features of Fuel Track Pro. A geofence is a virtual boundary around your site. When drivers record fuel events, the mobile app captures their GPS location. The system then checks if that location is within the geofence. If it's outside the boundary, the event is flagged with a geofence violation warning. This helps you ensure that fueling only happens at authorized locations and can help detect potential fuel theft or unauthorized fueling. I have two options for creating a geofence: a circle or a polygon. For a circle geofence, I need to enter three values: the latitude of the center point, the longitude of the center point, and the radius in meters. For example, I might set a radius of 500 meters, which means fueling is allowed within 500 meters of the center point. For a polygon geofence, I can draw a custom shape on the map by clicking to add points. This is useful when my site isn't circular. For example, if it follows the boundary of a property, I need at least 3 points to create a polygon. There's also an option to import a KML file. If I've created a boundary in Google Earth, I can export it as a KML file and upload it here. This is very convenient if I already have site boundaries defined in other systems. Let me show you the map. When I enter coordinates or draw a polygon, I can see it visualized on this Google map. The geofence boundary is shown as a shaded area, so I can verify it covers the correct location. Once I'm happy with my site configuration, I click the Save button to create the site. To edit an existing site, I simply click the Edit button in the Actions column for that site. This opens the same dialog I used to create the site, but with all the current values pre-filled. I can make my changes and click Save. To delete a site, I click the Delete button. A confirmation dialog appears asking me if I'm sure, because this action cannot be undone. If I confirm, the site is permanently removed from the system. If a site has a geofence configured, I can click on View Geofence to see a full screen map showing the boundary. This is useful for reviewing or explaining the geofence to others. Now I'm going to navigate to the Assets page by clicking Assets in the sidebar. In FuelTrack Pro, an asset is any vehicle or piece of equipment that consumes fuel. This includes trucks, excavators, loaders, bulldozers, cranes, forklifts, and any other diesel-powered machinery. Each asset has its own fuel tank and needs to be refueled periodically. At the top of this page, I can see the title, Asset Management, with a subtitle, Track and Manage Your Construction Equipment Fleet. There's a search bar where I can type to filter assets by their identifier, plate number, or badge number. This is very helpful when I have many assets and need to find a specific one quickly. Below the controls, I have a table showing all my registered assets. Let me explain each column. The first column has checkboxes for selecting assets. I can click the checkbox in the header to select all assets, or click individual checkboxes to select specific ones. When I have assets selected, a Delete Selected button appears for bulk deletion. The Identifier column shows the unique ID for each asset. This might be something like TRK001 or EXC025. I can click on an identifier to view the full details of that asset. The Type column shows what kind of equipment this is, like truck, wheel loader, excavator, bulldozer, and so on. FuelTrack Pro supports many different asset types. The Make, Model column shows the manufacturer and model of the equipment, like Caterpillar 320D or Toyota Hilux. The Plate No column shows the vehicle registration number, if applicable. The Assigned Site column shows which site this asset is currently assigned to. Assets can be moved between sites as needed. The Tank Size column shows the fuel tank capacity in gallons. This is important for calculating how much fuel the asset can hold. The Status column shows whether the asset is active or inactive. The Actions column has a drop-down menu with options to view details, edit, view QR code, or delete the asset. Let me show you how to add a new asset. I'll click the Add Asset button. A dialog opens with a comprehensive form. This form has several sections, so let me walk through each one. In the Basic Information section, I need to enter the identifier. This is the unique ID that will be used throughout the system. I'll type TRK050. Next, I select the asset type from a drop-down. The options include truck, wheel loader, excavator, bulldozer, roller, motor grader, crane, forklift, generator, compressor, light tower, water tanker, water pump, and other equipment. I'll select truck. I can optionally enter the make, model, and year model. These help identify the specific equipment. I can also enter the plate number, chassis number, tag number, and badge number. These are optional but useful for tracking and identification. In the driver information section, I can enter the name and mobile number of the driver assigned to this asset. This is helpful for contact purposes. In the fuel configuration section, I must enter the tank size in gallons. This is required. I'll type 50 for a 50-gallon tank. I can enter the current reading, which is the current odometer or hour meter reading. The reading mode drop-down lets me specify whether this asset tracks kilometers or hours. Trucks typically track kilometers, while stationary equipment like generators track hours. I can also enter the expected burn rate in liters per hour. This is the expected fuel consumption rate, which helps the system identify anomalies. In the assignment section, I can select which site this asset is assigned to from a drop-down of all active sites. I can also specify the ownership status, whether the asset is owned, rented, or leased. And I can enter the asset's value in AED for accounting purposes. Finally, there's a remarks field for any additional notes, and a status toggle to set whether the asset is active or inactive. Once I've filled in all the required fields, I click Save to create the asset. To view the complete details of an asset, I can either click on the identifier in the table, or click the Actions drop-down and select View Details. This opens a dialog showing all the asset's information in a read-only format. I can see everything from the basic information to the fuel configuration to the assignment details, plus the timestamps showing when the asset was created and last updated. One of the key features of FuelTrack Pro is the QR code system. Every asset has a unique QR code that can be printed and attached to the equipment. To view the QR code, I click on Actions and select View QR Code. A dialog opens showing a large QR code with the asset identifier printed below it. There's a Print button that opens my browser's print dialog. I can print this QR code and laminate it, then attach it to the asset. When drivers need to record a fuel event, they simply scan this QR code with the mobile app, and the asset information is automatically populated. This eliminates data entry errors and speeds up the fueling process significantly. If I have many assets to add, I don't want to enter them one by one. That's where the Excel import feature comes in. First, I click Download Template to get the Excel template. This template has columns for all the asset information: identifier, asset type, tank size, make, model, year, plate number, chassis number, and so on. I fill in this template with all my asset data. I can add dozens or even hundreds of assets in one spreadsheet. Then I click Import Excel and select my completed file. The system reads the Excel file, validates the data, and shows me a progress bar as it imports each asset. If there are any errors, for example, if I forgot a required field or used an invalid asset type, the system will tell me what went wrong. Otherwise, all the assets are created, and I can see them in the table. This bulk import feature can save hours of data entry time when setting up a new project or migrating from another system. At the bottom of the table, I have pagination controls. The table shows 10 assets per page. I can see page 1 of X and use the previous and next buttons to navigate between pages. Now let me navigate to the Generators page by clicking Generators. In the sidebar, generators are treated separately from regular assets in FuelTrack Pro because they have some unique characteristics. Generators are typically stationary. They're rated by power capacity in kVA, and they're refueled differently than vehicles. The layout of this page is similar to the Assets page. At the top, I have the title Generators, with a subtitle, Manage Power Generation Equipment. There's an Add Generator button to create new entries. The table shows all registered generators with the following columns. The Identifier column shows the unique generator ID, like GEN001 or Power A. The Make Model column shows the manufacturer and model. The Serial Number column shows the manufacturer's serial number, which is important for warranty and service records. The Capacity kVA column shows the power output rating. This tells me how powerful the generator is. The Tank Size GAL column shows the fuel tank capacity. The Assigned Site column shows where this generator is located. The Row No column is an optional field for tracking the generator's position within a site. For example, Row 3, Position 5. The Status column shows active or inactive status. The Actions column has buttons to view details, edit, view QR code, or delete. When I click Add Generator, I get a form similar to the asset form but tailored for generators. I enter the identifier, make, model, and year model. The serial number field is specifically for generators' unique serial numbers. The capacity kVA field is where I enter the power rating. For example, a large generator might be 500 kVA. I enter the tank size in gallons and optionally the current reading from the hour meter. Generators track operating hours rather than kilometers. The expected burn rate is particularly important for generators because they run for extended periods. Knowing the expected consumption helps identify if a generator is using more fuel than it should. The Row No field is optional but useful for large sites with many generators arranged in rows. I can set the ownership status, value, assigned site, add remarks, and toggle the active status. Just like assets, every generator has a QR code that can be printed and attached to the equipment. Drivers scan this code when refueling the generator, and all the generator information is automatically populated in the mobile app. Now I'm going to click on Tankers in the sidebar. A tanker in FuelTrack Pro is a fuel delivery vehicle, the truck that carries diesel to refuel your assets and generators. Tankers have their own fuel tanks and dispensing meters. and they need to be refilled periodically from external suppliers. The table shows all registered tankers. The identifier column shows the tanker's unique ID, like TANKER01 or Fuel Truck A. The plate number column shows the vehicle registration. The capacity GAL column shows how much fuel the tanker can carry. The current fuel GAL column shows the current fuel level in the tanker. This updates automatically as fuel is dispensed and refilled. The current meter column shows the current reading on the tanker's dispensing meter. This is used to calculate how much fuel was dispensed during each transaction. The last location column shows the last known GPS location of the tanker, based on the most recent transaction. The status column shows active or inactive status. The actions column has options to view details, edit, view QR code, view location, or delete. When I click Add Tanker, I get a simpler form than the asset form because tankers have fewer attributes. I enter the identifier. This is required and should be unique. I can optionally enter the plate number. I must enter the capacity in gallons. This is how much fuel the tanker can hold when full. I can enter the current fuel level if I want to set an initial balance. This is useful when first setting up the system with tankers that already have fuel in them. I can enter the current meter reading if the tanker has a dispensing meter. And I can set the active status. Each tanker also has a QR code. When recording a fuel event, drivers first scan the asset's QR code, then scan the tanker's QR code. This ensures the system knows which tanker is dispensing the fuel. One unique feature for tankers is the View Location button. When I click this, a map dialog opens showing the last known GPS location of the tanker. This is determined from the most recent fuel event or refill that was recorded with GPS coordinates. It's useful for tracking where your tankers have been operating. Now I'm going to navigate to the LPOs page by clicking LPOs in the sidebar. An LPO, or Local Purchase Order, is a document that authorizes the purchase of fuel from a supplier. In Fuel Track Pro, we track LPOs to maintain a complete audit trail of fuel procurement and to track how much fuel has been delivered against each order. At the top, I have the title, Local Purchase Orders, with a subtitle, Manage Fuel Purchase Orders and Vendor Contracts. I have two buttons. Upload LPO lets me upload a document and have the system automatically extract the data using OCR. Add LPO lets me manually enter an LPO. Below the header, I have 4 summary cards. Active LPOs shows how many orders are currently active, meaning they haven't been fully delivered yet. Total ordered shows the total quantity of fuel that has been ordered across all LPOs. Total delivered shows how much fuel has actually been delivered so far. Remaining balance shows how much fuel is still pending delivery across all active LPOs. These cards give me a quick overview of my fuel procurement status. The table shows all purchase orders with these columns. LPO number is the unique order number, which I get from my purchasing department. Vendor is the name of the fuel supplier. Issue date is when the order was created. QTY ordered. GAL is the total quantity ordered. QTY delivered. GAL is how much has been delivered so far. Remaining. GAL is the balance still to be delivered. Unit price is the price per gallon. Status shows whether the LPO is active, completed, or cancelled. Active means it's still being fulfilled. Completed means all fuel has been delivered. Cancelled means the order was cancelled. Actions lets me view, edit, or delete the LPO. When I click Add LPO, I get a comprehensive form with many fields. Let me walk through them. In the Basic Information section, I enter the LPO number. This is required and should match my purchasing system. I enter the vendor name, who I'm buying from. I can optionally add the vendor TRN, tax registration number, contact person, phone, and email. In the Order Details section, I enter the issue date, when the order was created. I can add the validity date, when the order expires. I can add the expected delivery date and delivery site. I can also add internal reference numbers like requisition number, reference number, and job code. In the Fuel Quantities section, I toggle Is Fuel LPO to indicate this is specifically for fuel. Then I enter the quantity ordered in gallons. This is how much fuel I'm ordering. I can enter the quantity already delivered if some fuel has already been received. And I enter the unit price per gallon. I select the currency. The system supports AED, USD, and KES. In the Financial Details section, I can enter the total gross amount, total tax amount, any deductions, and the total net amount. These help with accounting and invoice reconciliation. I can add payment terms, remarks, set the status, and configure a low balance alert percentage. This will warn me when the LPO is running low. The Upload LPO feature is really powerful. Instead of manually entering all this information, I can upload a scanned document or photo of an LPO. When I click Upload LPO, I select a PDF or image file. The system uses OCR, optical character recognition, powered by AI to read the document and extract all the relevant information automatically. After processing, I see the extracted data and can review it before saving. This saves a tremendous amount of data entry time and reduces errors when tankers are refilled from external suppliers. The refill event can be linked to an LPO. The system automatically updates the quantity delivered on the LPO when refills are recorded. This gives you complete traceability from purchase order to delivery to consumption. Now I'm going to navigate to Fuel Submissions. This is also called My Fuel Records in the sidebar. A fuel event is a single transaction where fuel is dispensed from a tanker to an asset. This is the core data in FuelTrack Pro. Every time a vehicle or piece of equipment is refueled, a fuel event is created. Fuel events are typically created by drivers using the mobile app. They scan the asset QR code, scan the tanker QR code, enter meter readings, take photos, and submit the event. But on this page, I can view all the fuel events that have been recorded. At the top, I have the title, My Fuel Records, with a subtitle, Fuel Dispensing Transaction History. There's an Export CSV button to download the data. I have 3 summary cards. Total events shows the count of all fuel events in the system. Total quantity shows the total gallons that have been dispensed. Anomalies shows how many events have been flagged with some kind of exception or warning. I'll explain exception flags in detail shortly. Below the summary, I have powerful filtering options. The search box lets me search by asset identifier, driver name, or tanker identifier. The site dropdown lets me filter by a specific site. The asset dropdown lets me filter by a specific asset. The tanker dropdown lets me filter by a specific tanker. There's also a refresh button to reload the data. These filters are very useful when I'm looking for specific transactions or investigating issues. The table shows all fuel events with these columns. Date shows when the event occurred, the date and time. Asset shows which asset was refueled. Site shows where this happened. Driver shows who performed the refueling. Tanker shows which tanker dispensed the fuel. Meter before and meter after show the tanker's meter readings before and after dispensing. The difference tells us exactly how much fuel was dispensed. QTY gal shows the quantity dispensed. Flags shows any exception flags that were triggered. I'll explain these in a moment. Actions lets me view the full details of the event. Exception flags are warnings that the system generates when something unusual is detected in a fuel event. Let me explain each type. Data_error shown in red means there's a data quality issue that needs manual review and correction. Negative_meter_QTY shown in red means the meter reading went backwards. The after reading is lower than the before reading. This shouldn't happen and needs investigation. Tank_overflow shown in red means the fuel dispensed exceeds the tank capacity of the asset. You can't put 50 gallons into a 30-gallon tank. Gauge_over_100 shown in red means the fuel gauge reading is above 100%, which is impossible. High_gauge_variance shown in yellow means there's a significant difference between the fuel calculated from the meter readings and the fuel calculated from the gauge readings. A variance over 15% is flagged. KM_not_increasing shown in yellow means the odometer reading hasn't increased since the last refueling. This might indicate the vehicle hasn't been used. Or there might be a data entry error. Hours_not_increasing shown in yellow is similar but for hour meters on equipment. Geofence_violation shown in yellow means the GPS location where fueling occurred is outside the authorized geofence boundary for that site. These flags help me identify potential issues quickly and take corrective action. When I click View Details for a fuel event, a comprehensive dialog opens showing all the information about that transaction. At the top, I see the event ID and the date and time. In the basic information section, I see the asset, driver, tanker, and site. In the meter readings section, I see the meter before and after readings, the quantity from meter, calculated from the meter delta, and the quantity from gauge, calculated from gauge changes. In the asset readings section, I see the asset's odometer or hour meter readings before and after, and the kilometers or hours since the last refueling. In the fuel gauge section, I see the fuel gauge percentages before and after, and the calculated tank levels in gallons. In the cost information section, I see the diesel price per gallon that was in effect at the time, the currency, and the calculated total cost. In the location section, I see the GPS coordinates where fueling occurred, whether it was within the geofence, and a map showing the exact location. If the site has a geofence configured, I can see it on the map along with the event location. The photos section shows all the photos that were captured during the event. This typically includes photos of the tanker meter before and after, the asset before and after, the fuel gauge before and after, the odometer, and the vehicle plate number. I can click on any photo to view it in full screen. These photos provide visual evidence of the transaction and are essential for auditing. The exception flags section lists any warnings that were triggered, with explanations of what each flag means. And the notes section shows any notes that the driver entered when submitting the event. If an event has a data_error flag, I might need to correct it. As an admin, I can click the Edit button to open an edit dialog. In the edit dialog, I can correct meter readings, gauge percentages, asset readings, and add notes explaining the correction. When I save the changes, the data_error flag is removed, and the event is logged as approved in the activity logs. This creates a complete audit trail of corrections. The Export CSV button at the top lets me download all the filtered data as a CSV file. I can open this in Excel for further analysis or reporting. The export includes all the key fields: date, asset, site, driver, tanker, meter readings, quantities, costs, flags, and GPS coordinates. Now I'm going to navigate to Tanker Refills in the sidebar, while Fuel Submissions track fuel. Going out of tankers into assets. Tanker refills track fuel going into tankers. This is when tankers are refilled from external suppliers, petrol stations, or other tankers. Maintaining accurate tanker refill records is essential for tracking fuel inventory in each tanker, reconciling purchases with LPOs, calculating fuel costs, maintaining a complete audit trail. At the top, I have the title, Tanker Refills, with a subtitle, Fuel Delivery and Refill History. I have buttons to export CSV and refresh the data. I have 3 summary cards. Total refills shows the count of all refill events. Total gallons shows the total fuel that has been added to tankers. Total cost shows the total cost of all refills. I can search by tanker identifier, driver name, or vendor name. I can also filter by a specific tanker using the drop-down. The table shows all refill events. Date shows when the refill occurred. Tanker shows which tanker was refilled. Driver shows who performed the refill. Source shows where the fuel came from. There are 3 options. External supplier means a third-party fuel delivery. Petrol station means the tanker was filled at a gas station. Another tanker means fuel was transferred from one company tanker to another. Vendor shows the name of the supplier or station. LPO shows the linked purchase order number, if applicable. QTY added. GAL shows how much fuel was added. Cost shows the total cost of this refill. Photos shows thumbnail previews of the photos captured. Flags shows any exception warnings. Actions lets me view details or edit the record. When I click to view details, I see the tanker identifier, driver name, date, fuel source, and vendor, the meter readings, tanker meter before and after, the tanker's own meter, and supplier meter before and after, the supplier's dispensing meter, the quantity and cost information, gallons added, price per gallon, total cost, and currency. The LPO information, the linked order number, LPO unit price, and invoice number. Photos captured during the refill, including photos of both the tanker's meter and the supplier's meter, and the GPS location where the refill occurred. If there are errors in a refill record, I can edit it to correct meter readings, quantities, and add notes. Like fuel events, corrections are logged for audit purposes. Now I'm going to navigate to Generator Fuel in the sidebar. Generator Fuel events track fuel going from tankers to generators. This is separate from regular asset fuel events because generators have different tracking requirements. For generators, we track the generator being refueled, the tank level before and after, as a percentage, the tanker meter readings, the quantity dispensed, photos of the tank gauge and meters. At the top, I have the title, Generator Fuel Submissions, with a subtitle, Generator Refueling Transaction. History. I have an Export CSV button. I have 3 summary cards similar to the fuel submissions page. Total events shows the count of generator refueling events. Total gallons shows the total fuel dispensed to generators. Anomalies shows events with exception flags. I can search events. Filter by a specific generator. Or filter by a specific tanker. The table shows date, when the refueling occurred. Generator, which generator was refueled. Site, where this happened. Driver, who performed it. Tanker, which tanker dispensed the fuel. Meter before and meter after, the tanker's meter readings. QTY. Gal, the quantity dispensed. Tank before, percent, and tank after, percent. The generator's tank level as a percentage before and after refueling. Flags, any exception warnings. Actions, view, edit, or delete options. The details dialog shows basic information. Generator, site, driver, tanker, date, meter readings and calculated quantity. Generator tank levels as percentages, which help verify the fuel was actually received. Cost information. Photos of the tanker meters and generator tank gauge. GPS location. I can edit events to correct errors. And I can delete events if needed. With confirmation. All changes are logged. Now I'm going to navigate to Reports in the sidebar. At the top, I have the title, Fuel Consumption Reports, with a subtitle, Analytics and Insights for Fuel Management. I have a time range selector where I can choose to view data for the last 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days. There's an Export Report button to download the data. Below the header, I have quick links to specialized reports. Exceptions takes me to the exception and variance report. Tanker summary takes me to the tanker summary report. Asset consumption takes me to the asset consumption report. Site fuel takes me to the site fuel report. Each of these provides different insights into my fuel operations. I have 4 metric cards. Total consumption shows the total fuel consumed in the selected period. Total cost shows the total fuel cost. Daily average shows the average daily consumption. Active assets shows how many assets have had fuel events in this period. This area chart shows daily fuel consumption over the selected time period. I can see patterns. Are certain days busier than others? Is consumption increasing or decreasing over time? Similar to the consumption chart. This shows daily fuel cost. This helps me track expenses and identify any unusual spending patterns. This table breaks down consumption by asset. For each asset, I see the asset identifier, the number of fuel events, the total fuel consumed, an efficiency score calculated by the system. This helps me identify which assets are using the most fuel and whether their consumption is within expected ranges. This table breaks down consumption by site. The site name, the number of events, total fuel consumed, total cost. This helps me compare fuel usage across different locations. Let me click on the Exceptions link to show you this specialized report. This report focuses on anomalies and issues that need attention. At the top, I have the title, Exception and Variance Report, with an Export CSV button. The table shows all fuel events that have exception flags. For each event, I see the date, asset, site, and driver. The issue types, shown as colored badges. Critical issues like -meter_QTY are in red. Warnings like high_gauge_variance are in yellow. The meter quantity and gauge quantity in gallons. The variance the difference between meter and gauge, shown in both gallons and percentage. This report is essential for quality control. I should review it regularly and investigate any events with critical flags. Now let me show you the Tanker Summary Report. I'll click on Tanker Summary. This report provides detailed analytics on tanker operations. At the top, I have date range pickers to select a custom period. I can also filter by a specific tanker. I have 4 summary cards. Total refilled shows how much fuel was added to tankers. Total dispensed shows how much fuel was dispensed from tankers. Refill cost shows the total cost of refills. Net balance shows the difference between refilled and dispensed. This should be close to 0 if my data is accurate. Below the summary, I have 4 tabs. The Summary tab shows a breakdown by tanker. Starting fuel, fuel refilled, fuel dispensed, ending fuel, and counts of refills and dispenses. The Refills tab lists all individual refill events with date, tanker, driver, source, vendor, LPO, quantity, price, and cost. The Usage tab lists all dispensing events, fuel events to assets and generators, with date, tanker, asset, site, driver, quantity, and cost. The Fueling Cycles tab is particularly interesting. It groups events into cycles. Each cycle starts with a refill and includes all the subsequent dispenses until the next refill. This helps me understand how tankers are being utilized. Now let me show you the Asset Consumption Report by clicking Asset Consumption. This report focuses on how much fuel each asset is using. At the top, I can select the time period. Last 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, or all time. I have 2 summary cards. Total fuel consumed shows the period total. Assets with data shows how many assets have fuel events. The table shows each asset with the asset identifier and type. Total fuel consumed in gallons, distance or hours, depending on how the asset tracks usage. An efficiency metric, liters per 100 kilometers for vehicles, or liters per hour for equipment. This helps me identify which assets are consuming the most fuel and whether they're operating efficiently. Finally, let me show you the Site Fuel Report by clicking Site Fuel. This report provides detailed fuel analysis by site. At the top, I have date range pickers and a site filter. There's a Generate Report button to run the report with my selected filters, and an Export to Excel button that downloads a multi-sheet Excel workbook. I have 4 summary cards. Total gallons, fuel consumed in the period. Total cost, total fuel cost. Total events, number of transactions. Active sites, sites with activity. The Site Breakdown table shows each site with site name, event count, total gallons, total cost, and average quantity per event. The Detailed Events table shows individual fuel events, date, site, asset, driver, tanker, quantity, and cost. The Excel export includes 3 sheets: Summary, Site Breakdown, and Detailed Events. This is useful for creating reports for management or accounting. Now I'm going to navigate to Cost Tracking in the sidebar. Cost Tracking is where I manage diesel prices and fuel budgets. This is essential for financial management and budget control. At the top, I have the title, Cost Tracking, with a subtitle, Monitor Diesel Prices and Fuel Budgets. I have 2 buttons: Add New Price, to record a new diesel price, and Add Budget, to create a budget entry, if any budgets are approaching or exceeding their limits. I see alerts at the top of the page. These are color-coded. Red alerts indicate budgets that have been exceeded. Yellow warnings indicate budgets approaching their threshold. For example, 80% utilized. For each alert, I see the site name, the percentage of budget used, and the amounts. I have 3 metric cards. Current diesel price shows the current price per gallon. This is the most recent price in the system. Monthly spend shows total fuel spending for the current month. Total spend shows all-time fuel spending. This table shows the history of diesel prices, effective from when this price took effect. Price per gallon, the price amount. Currency, AED. USD. ORCES. Notes. Any comments about the price change? Recorded. When this entry was created. Prices are used to calculate the cost of fuel events. When a fuel event is recorded, the system looks up the price that was effective at that time. This table shows budgets for the current month. Site. Which site this budget applies to. Or, all sites, for a global budget. Budget. The allocated amount. Spent. How much has been used. Remaining. The available balance. Usage. Percentage used. Shown as a progress indicator. Alert level. The threshold percentage that triggers warnings. Actions. Edit or delete buttons. When I click Add New Price, a form opens where I enter the price per gallon. This is the new diesel price. The currency, AED. USD. ORCES. The effective date, when this price takes effect. Optional notes. For example, price increase due to market conditions. When I save, this becomes the new current price, and future fuel events will use this price for cost calculations. When I click Add Budget, a form opens where I enter the site. I can select a specific site, or leave it blank for a global budget. The year and month, which period this budget covers. The budget amount, how much is allocated. The currency. The alert threshold percentage, at what utilization level should warnings appear. Budgets help me control spending and get alerts when sites are using too much fuel. Now I'm going to navigate to Users in the sidebar. At the top, I have the title, Users, with a subtitle, Manage System Users, and Access. I have 2 buttons. Invite User, to send an email invitation, and Add User, to create a user directly. The table shows all users in the system. Name, the user's full name. Email, their login email address. Phone, their contact number. Role, their permission level. Shown as a colored badge. Different roles have different colors. Super_admin is purple. Admin is blue. Site_supervisor is green. Dispatcher is orange. Auditor is teal. And driver is gray. Status, active or inactive. Created, when the account was created. Actions, edit or delete buttons. Let me explain each role. Superadmin has complete access to everything, including activity logs. This is typically for system administrators. Admin has full operational access but cannot view activity logs. This is for managers who need to configure the system. Site supervisor has view access to operational data but cannot modify master data. This is for supervisors who need to monitor operations. Dispatcher can view operational data with a focus on fuel events and tankers. This is for dispatch personnel. Auditor has read-only access to all operational data and can export reports. This is for audit and compliance purposes. Driver has mobile app access only. Drivers can create fuel events and view their own records, but cannot access the web application. When I click Add User, A form opens where I enter full name, the user's display name, email. This will be their login email. It must be unique. Phone, optional contact number. Password, the initial password. I should communicate this to the user securely. Role. I select the appropriate permission level from the drop-down. When I save, the user account is created immediately and they can log in, editing a user. When I click Edit for a user, I can change their full name, phone number, role. I can promote or demote users as needed. Note that I cannot change a user's email address after the account is created. Deleting a user. When I click Delete, a confirmation dialog appears warning that this action cannot be undone. I cannot delete my own account. And I cannot delete the last super_admin in the system. Now I'm going to navigate to Activity Logs in the sidebar. Note that this page is only accessible to super_admin users. If I'm logged in with any other role, I'll see an Access Denied message. Activity logs provide a complete audit trail of everything that happens in the system. Every time a user creates, updates, deletes, or approves something, it's logged here. Note that super_admin actions are not logged. This is by design to maintain privacy for system administrators. At the top, I have the title, Activity Logs, with a subtitle, User Activity Audit Trail. There's an Export CSV button. Filter controls. I have several filtering options. Search. I can search by user name, resource name, or details. User filter. I can select a specific user to see only their activities. Action filter. I can filter by action type. Create, update, delete, view, login, logout, export, or approve. Resource filter. I can filter by resource type. Asset, tanker, generator, fuel_event, tanker_refill, generator_refill, LPO, site, user, report, settings, budget, or diesel_price, date range. I can specify a start and end date. Summary cards. I have 4 summary cards. Total activities. The count of activities matching my filters. Active users. The count of unique users who have performed activities. Creates. The count of create actions. Updates. The count of update actions. The table shows all logged activities. Timestamp. When the activity occurred. User. Who performed it. Action. What type of action. Create. Update. Delete. Etc. Shown as a colored badge. Resource. What type of item was affected. Shown with an emoji icon. Resource name. The specific item. Like an asset identifier or username. Details. Additional information about the activity, which can be expanded to see the full JSON data. This audit trail is essential for security and compliance. If there's ever a question about who changed what and when, I can find the answer here. Now I'm going to navigate to Settings in the sidebar. The Settings page overview. The Settings page has 2 sections. Your Profile and User Management. Your Profile section. In this section, I can update my own profile information. I see my current full name in a text field. I can change this if needed. I see my phone number in another text field. There's a Save Changes button to update my profile. Note that I cannot change my email address from this page. User Management section. Admin only. If I'm an admin or super_admin, I see a second section for managing users. This provides quick access to change user roles or delete users without going to the full users page. The table shows users with their name, email, role badge, and action buttons for changing role and deleting. On mobile devices, this is shown as cards instead of a table for better readability. Before I finish, let me briefly explain the mobile application that drivers use in the field. Downloading and installing. Drivers download the Android app from the login screen by clicking Download Application. They install the APK on their phone and log in with their credentials. Mobile app screens. The home screen shows quick access buttons and today's summary. The fuel event screen is the most important. Here's the workflow. The driver scans the asset's QR code using the phone's camera. The driver scans the tanker's QR code. The driver enters the tanker meter reading before dispensing. The driver dispenses the fuel. The driver enters the tanker meter reading after dispensing. The driver enters the asset's odometer or hour meter reading. The driver enters the fuel gauge percentages before and after. The driver takes photos of all the meters and gauges. The phone captures the GPS location automatically. If required, the driver enters a supervisor PIN for verification. The driver submits the event. The generator refill screen follows a similar process for refueling generators. The tanker refill screen is used when the tanker itself needs to be refilled from a supplier. The My Records screen shows the driver's own fuel events. The profile screen lets drivers view their profile and log out. And that concludes our complete tour of FuelTrack Pro. To summarize what we've covered, we started with the login screen where users authenticate and can access tutorial videos. We explored the dashboard, which provides an overview of key metrics and quick actions. We went through sites management where you configure work locations and geofences. We covered assets management for tracking vehicles and equipment. We looked at generators management for power generation equipment. We explored tankers management for fuel delivery vehicles. We reviewed LPOs for purchase order tracking. We examined fuel submissions, which is the core of the system, tracking every fuel transaction. We looked at tanker refills for tracking fuel coming into your tankers. We covered generator fuel submissions for generator-specific refueling. We went through the reports section with its specialized reports for exceptions, tanker summaries, asset consumption, and site fuel analysis. We explored cost tracking for managing diesel prices and budgets. We covered users management for creating and managing user accounts. We reviewed activity logs for complete audit trail visibility. And finally, we looked at settings for profile and user management. FuelTrack Pro gives you complete visibility and control over your fuel operations. From the first drop of diesel entering your tankers to the last gallon going into your equipment. Every transaction is tracked, verified, and auditable. If you have any questions about using FuelTrack Pro, please contact your system administrator or reach out to our support team. Thank you for watching this tutorial.